From the 700 WLW Newsroom, here's Brian Combs.
Big stories you're talking about in the big one today. President's Commerce Secretary in town campaigning in favor of the president's job plan that he laid out for the nation last night. President talking specifically about helping the tri-state with the Brent Spence Bridge replacement. President mentioned that early on in his speech last night as a way to put Americans to work, improving the infrastructure across America that he says is deteriorating. President called it an outrage last night that bridges like the I-75 span connecting Cincinnati and Covington have been allowed to slip into such bad repair. Cincinnati's mayor was in the audience last night. Mark Mallory, invited by the First Lady to be in her box on the Capitol for the speech last night. The mayor was back in town today with the Commerce Secretary as they met with business leaders to talk about how this plan could help people in the tri-state and small businesses create new jobs. Welcoming some heroes home. Big celebration in Fairfield today. Members of the Ohio National Guard who have been on duty in Iraq for the last year are back in town. A hero's welcome for these people who were part of the 174th Air Defense Artillery Regiment. There was a reception for them at the Tri-County Assembly of God Church this morning as they returned from duty. They'll be back in the Tri-State this weekend, marking the 10th anniversary of September 11th with their families. A number of ceremonies are planned across the tri-state next several days to commemorate that day. Back in 2001, when the terrorists struck, more than 3,000 people died. One of the exhibits is going to be unveiled tomorrow morning at the Cincinnati Fire Museum. It's on loan from the New York State Museum. It will include artifacts from the World Trade Towers and a timeline of all the events leading up to the attack. 700 WLW is planning a special Sunday morning from 8 to 9 that will include a moment of silence at 8:46 for the people who died when the first plane hit the World Trade Towers. You can hear it live on the big one, and we'll have coverage of all the activities taking place here and across the country throughout the weekend. River Road, parts of Sailor Park shut down this morning because of a strange odor. Somebody walking at Fernbank Park said they smelled sulfur. Cincinnati fire crews shut down several roads in the area, closed the park as they investigated, but they couldn't find anything. Some Senate Republicans are being called hypocrites today. That because they gave staff members raises of almost 20% earlier this year. At the same time that the state was talking about a huge budget deficit, cutting salaries, and talking about changing bargaining rights for public employees. Tom Niehaus, Senate President, defends it, telling the Enquirer today that the raises were needed to keep key employees who were looking at leaving. 700 WLW Reds update. Reds on the road in Colorado. One of the final road trips of the season, about to wrap up. Reds and Rockies 3 times this weekend. Airtime tonight, 7:40 on the big one. For the Bengals, it's Cleveland this weekend. They open up their season against the Browns in Cleveland. You can hear that game on Cincinnati's ESPN 1530. The Bengals come in 6.5-point underdogs to the Browns in that game. However, Cleveland has only won one of their opening day games in the past 12 years.